You having fun with your ball? He's like, yes, ma'am, I am. Let me just tell you how much I love this ball.
I have things to say about balls.
I was speaking in the singular, but that's not too...
Hey, some people have one testy. Oh, I should probably...
True, yes. Nothing against people with one testy.
I don't know if the recording is going to be able to pick this up because I have to walk around the room for a second. But at one point, I did consider donating one testicle because you can get $35,000 for it. I don't need them for anything.
You'd be a uniballer.
Oh, they'll give you a prosthetic.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
There's a prosthetic ball?
And you can get, I think it was up to $35,000.
Okay.
For one testicle.
Dude, that's a down payment on a fucking house. No millennial will ever get that. See, all you gotta do is all men just have to donate a testy.
That's...
all you gotta do. I mean, women make so many sacrifices. Why not donate a testy?
Why not donate a testy? Yeah, you're right. Because men in power look at women like they are an oven, an easy bake oven.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
Donate a ball today.
And if you're interested in making $35,000 for something that you may or may not need, you can go do that online. I don't know what it is, but yeah, whenever you donate an organ, and I think even if you're like donating it out of the kindness of your heart, the hospital takes care of all the bills.
Yeah, nice.
And you know, an organ like that, I mean, can you give me like an extremely large prosthetic though? Because that would be really nice.
Could you imagine it be like uneven?
Yeah.
Yeah, like one very large.
That's my alien nut.
Can you pick out colors? Could you make a rainbow?
It's inside your scrotum, so I don't think you're going to be able to pick out a color.
I was picturing like even the outside, right? But I guess, yeah, it would be covered with skin. But I was thinking like the whole thing would be like prosthetic. You know, like, well, like I'm thinking like a prosthetic limb, right? So like you're not gonna like, you don't always cover that with something. Sometimes you do. I mean, there's all different options.
No, you are correct.
I'm getting really ADHD on this, but I was really picturing that it would have a certain look to it.
It's okay. I'm getting pretty like ADHD right now because the lighting in here is off because I have to go turn that light on.
Sure, go ahead.
Hey everybody, my name's Jaron. Hey everybody, my name's Jaron. My pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Heather. Pronouns are she, her.
And we are your hosts of Typically Divergent Podcast. Happy Monday.
Woo! Happy Monday.
Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Oh my gosh. Well, Heather, it's so good to have you back. Welcome back to the studio.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
We are recording on a Thursday, everybody. Tomorrow on Friday is my fiance's birthday, and we are having a party for him tomorrow, and I am making him a big-ass cake, so if you want to go see that, it will be on TikTok.
Yay. Oh, that's going to be so fun.
It is so fun.
I'm excited.
Martha Stewart, lemon poppy seed.
Aww. Jaron Stewart.
Jaron Stewart. No. What was
Little Stewart?
Little Stewart, thank you. I was like, what was that rat's name?
Stuart Little.
Stuart Little. Thank you.
I'm like, wait, wrong way.
Yeah, Little Stewart. I was like, that couldn't possibly be right. But if you have dyslexia or any other inabilities to be able to keep your words in check, it sounds normal either way.
Yeah, that works too.
Right. Speaking of TikTok, have you guys been watching the stuff going on with the... It's not really, so they're calling it a TikTok ban, right? But really it's coded as a way for them to be able to try to have more access and control over the internet. And it's not just TikTok. And also it comes from Singapore. So all of this, like specifically China and China problems is like so stupid.
Yeah. Like the CEO is from Singapore.
Right.
Yeah.
And I heard he used to be apprentice for Zuckerberg.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yep, I saw that too. And that Zuckerberg tried to like, I've seen footage where like he tried to like coax Chinese government into like being more involved in his own stuff, and like he also supposedly maybe wanted to buy TikTok at some point when it was earlier on.
Oh,
and like back when
did?
when TikTok, like, so the current CEO is from Singapore, but I believe that the original aspects of ByteDance used to be more attached to China. Like it has lost that more of that attachment with time. Like I'm not 100% sure if I'm accurate in how I'm explaining that, but back in the day, Zuckerberg was trying to like go over there and talk about like, you know, taking over the app. He's just so mad that he can't get the app for himself. So
yeah,
let's just try to put out all these articles and this random like biased news stuff about
and
how TikTok is
xenophobic.
terrible and so xenophobic, right?
Right.
I actually didn't know until I was watching other media. Like if you only watch that congressional hearing where they like ripped is it Shu, the CEO of TikTok, apart, you would have thought that you would have assumed, because of the way that like how they were talking, everything that was being said, that he was from China. Like you wouldn't have even known. It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you're going to sit there and say that, oh, they're selling your data and all of this stuff, like, hey guys, like, if you have Meta, like, there are like actual paperwork showing that Facebook and Meta and Instagram like have already done all of these same accusations that are just being like sprinkled in from all of these different sites. And also like
they sell your healthcare data. They've lost lawsuits for it already.
yeah.
They sell all your shit already. And like, and I feel like that's the thing, is like a lot of Americans already accept that to begin with. And they're like, what
It's cognitive
the fuck
dissonance.
is the difference? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like understanding what you're willing to, you know, accept. Right. And like, those are things owned by America. And like, the government has shown that they don't give a shit about us to begin with anyways. So like, why do you suddenly care? And that's why it's like, how do you not think that we're going to automatically be suspicious that in actuality, what you're trying to do is censor us?
Right.
What you're trying to do is take away First Amendment rights of people. It's so bad that, and so just for reference for anyone that's trying to look up more information, I believe it's SB 686 Senate bill. I want to say that that's the number without looking it up, but it's, do you remember what the title is? Because it's not called like the TikTok ban. It doesn't even mention TikTok by name. It's,
I'm gonna look this up, but it's got Gen Alpha and Z and millennials so pissed off that the Gen Z, a generation that society has said that they don't have an attention span, they are reading pages of these bills.
They're reading the bills,
and they're pissed.
Yeah, they're getting involved in government. I'm so proud of
Yes.
y'all. I am so proud of everyone who is taking the time to actually start to read government bills and what they look like, because man, is it dry, man, is it hard. So like, it takes a lot to get to that point, and you gotta be really, really passionate about the issue, I think, to get to that point. I think if someone didn't understand TikTok and they keep hearing the TikTok ban, they'd be, and let's say they're also believe in, you know, they're more liberal and they believe in a lot of the issues that we currently face, right? With like, you know, everything going on with trans rights, LGBTQIA rights in general, things with women's rights, all these other things. Like, man, why are you caring about TikTok? But that's the thing, is like, if you take the time to actually learn about what this is, it's not just that.
No.
Did you find out what it is?
I did. Sorry, folks. So
No, you're okay.
it's called the Restrict Act.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes. And it doesn't name TikTok specifically. What it does is it actually appoints a, and again, please read this bill for yourself, but it basically appoints a Secretary of Commerce, which we would not even elect ourselves as people.
Right.
It appoints someone in that spot that we didn't even get a chance to vote for or anything. They get to decide who is an adversary, quote unquote, of the United States, and then would get to control anything related to commerce, including the internet, that comes from them.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't even define like how much they have to own. So let's say like China has like stock ownership of like 1% of a company. If they so choose, they could just be like, yep, we're banning that. Yep, that business can't be in here in America. It's so bad that ironically, even like MAGA Trumpers, who otherwise like certainly we can't meet eye to eye on most other issues, especially when it comes to human rights, are like, yo, this is effed up, especially for America and freedom. In fact, Josh Hawley, a terrible, terrible person in government right now. I think, I don't know if he's a senator or House representative. Either way, terrible congressman, brought up just straight up one of these I forgot what it's called, but today he brought up onto the floor, hey, I think he's a senator, just a straight up TikTok ban. It's one of these like things where it's like if no one says no to it and it's like a simple bill where it's just like a one thing, you can let it go. So he tried it. The one person that stood up
Oh, I saw this. Was a Republican.
was fucking Rand Paul.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is a lot of people are like, oh my God, I believe with Rand Paul. This is insane. That's like agreeing with Trump. Like, how the fuck did that happen, right? Because he's been so anti, COVID measures. He's very, like anti a lot of the other things that like we, you or I would support and things like that. But the thing is, he's actually, he has libertarian roots. So like if there's anything that man hates in general is government overstepping. The reason why he was so on the side of like the MAGA Republicans related to COVID restrictions is because he's so extremely libertarian that he still sees that as the government restricting on people. So like, yeah, don't agree with him on that. But now he's coming back around and it's like, he's the one person that stood up. Like, why wasn't a Democrat the first person to stand up? And that's the thing that's pissing me off too.
Yes. Okay. So, and there are also like, when we're looking at people who are voting or saying that they are on one specific color of the bipartisan government system that we have. Is that what that's the correct term, right?
What?
Bipartisan.
Yes.
Oh.
You're like, you're smart too. You got this.
Toe tap. I'm getting, you guys, I'm like getting more into government than I did.
I'm so proud of you because I've seen you posting some stuff and I'm like, I feel so not alone in this. And I'm seeing more and more people too, which makes me feel that like this shit is finally hitting a chord.
Right. We finally,
and we need it to.
We've finally been bored enough.
Yeah, and tired. And tired of this shit.
Now we're sharing all this information, and that's like what makes them scared, is because TikTok is very tough on misinformation, whereas like Facebook and YouTube like have a big issue with that like quote unquote sleeping getting through the cracks.
Yes.
And so you guys, whether they are Republican or Democrat, that's where we're going around with this whole fucking circle. Whether they are Republican or a Democrat, or if they are voting yes in favor of the Restrict Act, they are not who they say they are in the color of that suit that they say that they're supposed to be. Because at that point, they are being lobbied and getting paid by Meta and all of the companies and all of the other politicians that benefit from.
It's a kickback.
Yeah. From all the people that benefit from having all of your information and just that much more of a control over your freedom to be able to share information. And so these things are really spooky. So reach out to your senators and your governors and, do the thing.
Yeah, please do. The only other thing I wanted to add is like, I think this coming up is also an important reminder that things that are bipartisan doesn't always mean that they're good. Right. And the other thing that I think this brings up a really good example, it's felt very much like one-sided. At the same time, this really brings up the concept of what have Democrats, because they do represent the more liberal and left side, even though overall we've talked about this, that as a whole, the Democrat Party represents a centrist, sometimes even slightly right-leaning overall party when you compare them to other major democracies in Europe and the world and Canada. Even though they represent the people that are trying to like encourage everyone to have rights and to live their lives no matter what their beliefs are, no matter who they love, no matter how they identify, and all of these other things, women's rights, all that stuff. But guess what? They haven't actually fought enough to prevent the backwalking that's been happening. So like, I feel like that theme has been coming up. And this is a perfect moment where we see that not all Democrats are good people either. Like you said, they're still bought by lobbyists. They are still corrupt. The Democratic Party is still a corrupt party. It has problematic members. And you can be central and somewhat left-leaning, you can still have more authoritarian views on how you want the government to be run. You can be sort of left-winged, but still be like very much a war hawk. You can still be very much into like, I still want to control the government to make sure that things go the way I want. I think that's where I see things like in Biden, who is very much a centrist. He is in no way very much, generally not left-leaning. It's like he says he cares about these things, but how much does he really, really fight for a lot of the things that we've been working on?
Mm-hmm.
And in general, he stands there and is like, I want, he's very tough on Russia, wants to be tough on China. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be at all, but there's a sense of like, I'll do what he gets very focused on that. And I think that's where he's coming from also with even like this TikTok ban, because he said he's been open to it. And it's like, I don't know, buddy. I mean, you really relied on a lot of the young vote to get to where you are. You might want to rethink that.
Yeah, I'm not too particularly big of a fan of Mr. Biden myself.
Same.
I've been seeing some videos of him like saying some maybe like not appropriate timing comments. And I'm not talking about like the deep dive stuff where people are like, oh, look, he's touching these little kids. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I think that trigger warning for pedophilia, I think that is everywhere in government and anybody that claims to, I don't want to collect everybody into like one big large lump,
right? And there's also still there are good people who take government offices and really want to make a change, right?
Yeah.
Like I believe like Maxwell
Marianne
Frost,
Williamson.
our first Gen Z. Oh yeah,
have you been seeing the Marianne Williams?
Yeah,
stuff?
she's been trending on TikTok a lot as like it's sort of an independent, but she's planning on running on like the Democrat Party to actually give Biden a challenge, which would be really interesting because usually they run unchallenged if they're already in the spot.
Right. And she's kind of like a Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. She did run for I think she was in the primaries for the Democratic ticket when Biden, like, amongst all the different people. Yeah. I don't think she made it as far as other candidates. Okay. But so she was a part of that. At least her second. Okay. Yeah.
Well, good. Mm-hmm. And amongst that, and you guys, the trans and queer community are at risk. I did not mean for us to talk about politics for that long, but these are important things. We are creators here. This is a creative show. We do have a little bit of a responsibility to like make people aware of these things.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, that's okay. You guys can skip through it.
Well, no, I mean, well, if you don't want to hear it, that's okay. What's not okay is if like you don't like what I was going to say was I was listening to it was just like an untold story about like these teenagers who essentially were the rebels against the like anti-Nazi regime or whatever, and like teenage girls go like shooting Nazis and stuff. And before they invaded their country. Anyway, so there was a quote later down the road, and like I can't remember all of the details right now, but it was either like her or her mother or her daughter or someone at some point was like, oh, it was the little girl's mother at the time. She said, like regardless of like if people are good or bad, if they're doing something that is bad, like that specifically needs to be attended to because they're doing something bad enough. When we're talking about like people's lives here.
Right.
So, and when you can't have a gray area with this type of a situation with any of these things that we're talking about that are going on in the world, because, talk about TikTok taking away, your rights to be able to talk about things on the internet and having it non-censored. And then we're talking about lives of queer and trans people. And like you want to, and people want to say that they're so pro-life, but people in churches are talking about eradicating.
Yeah.
And we are now in the 7th stage out of 10 stages of genocide. And people like,
and that is an official thing. Like that is like from a like government, like that is from like a research website. Like that's not just I know like that infographic has been shared around.
Yeah.
And to me, people don't like to talk about this stuff, right? But I feel like I've been observing that increase more and more. And now we're talking about it. And now major news articles talk about fascism all the time. Like this is a problem. We have to be aware of it and we have to talk about it and we have to be aware so that we know when is the right time to actually fight back and like put up defenses that we need to and make sure that we protect the people around us that are like that are important, and just other human beings for their right to exist. I think that's really important.
Right.
I'm sorry. So keep going though. You mentioned the seventh stage.
So we're in the seventh stage of genocide, and back to the girls' mother. So when you're not picking a side, then you're being complacent with what and I'm going to say the enemy is doing. You're being complacent with what they're doing. So, for years we've been like, queer community has been like, stop eating at fucking Chick-fil-A because they give their money to the little camps, the centers and locations of where people do essentially electroshock therapy on trans youth and or adults. Sometimes most of the time it is forced on them. People's lives are in danger with that. And then, people like, it's not hurting you, like you're safe, but you continue to slowly support these things and they just continue to grow. And that's why we are at a place where we are now with politics, because of how bad fascism is. We are in a fascist state here in the US. This is no longer a democracy, and people don't want to admit that, because when you say, well, we are very close to following the same things that like what was going on with Hitler, and people want to throw up their hands and go, hey, that's not happening here. We're not killing people.
Well, we're not that extreme.
We're not at that stage yet.
But we're so close. There is a graph about like the precipice to fascism, and like once you reach it, you fall over, right? There's a tipping point, and we're so close. We are so close to that tipping point.
Because you can't come back from that at that
right.
point.
If Trump had been successful with that insurrection and rebellion, we would be there right now. But that thankfully didn't happen. Honestly, all it would take at this point is someone to get into government and to refuse to step down, and for them to have that support, such as military, etc., to not have to step down. That's literally all it would take. That's the only thing that is probably stopping us from truly actually technically being actually fascist.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. And I mean, since this is brought up, which I think the positive thing is that by talking about it, more and more people are learning the background aspects. Like, we learn in school that, and again, trigger warning for things related to the Holocaust and all of the, obviously the devastation and the loss of millions of lives. But to also speak on it, because it is important as much as it is a tough subject. They went for trans people
first,
and then the gays first, before they even went after Jewish people. They literally, one of the first steps in the Nazi regime in Germany was canceling, back then it was more experimental in the research, but the hormone related therapies and the things that they were working on for transitioning, and shutting down the university researchers in Germany that were working on those things. And okay, that literally is exactly what we're doing in multiple states in the United States. It just isn't on a federal level.
Right. Sorry, I have to be really transparent, you guys.
No.
I am like shaking right now thinking about these things. No, please don't apologize. It's okay. I just have to be honest about it, because that's how important these things are. I've been avoiding what this episode is supposed to be, you guys. Speaking of other things, are you ready to tell them?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we've had it. Well, I don't want to say unfortunately. So, first off, we're having our season finale. We are ending a full season of the podcast, which has been a really exciting journey so far.
This has been very unexpected and very abrupt.
I had mentioned on this podcast in previous episodes that I was really looking forward to potentially moving into a different role within my career that was going to bring a lot of balance. And I think I was really holding on to that in terms of helping balance that with different hobbies, including the podcast. And unfortunately, all of a sudden, that is no longer working out, and I do need to maintain in my current role. And I do love what I do for my career, but my job is extremely stressful and does not always provide for a very great balance. I know we've talked about that actually on the podcast, and how that is not okay. And it isn't okay. I will be very transparent. It's not okay where it's at. But even in working on it, there are limitations, and it's very difficult to keep those boundaries as much as I do try. I feel like I've made improvements personally for myself.
And you have.
Thank you. Thank you. The job is extremely mentally demanding, and sometimes very difficult emotionally. And because of that, it makes it very hard some weeks to give my what I personally believe that Jaron deserves as a contribution as a partner in this podcast journey, and in continuing on with that podcast journey, as well as the potential for my future family planning. Because of that, and because I don't think it's right for me to not pull my weight, I am having to bow out of the podcast, and that is my choice. Jaron is very kind to support me in that, and as much as it sucks, and I'm not exactly happy to do it in the first place either myself, and I know naturally upsetting for both of us. Jaron has been very supportive, even in finding out that news and us talking through it. Yes, I will be stepping away from the podcast. And Jaron, who has been honestly incredible in all of this and all that he does, is going to be moving forward with this creatively, not necessarily by himself, is going to be looking for a new partner.
So
Or
here's.
do you want to get into that?
Yeah, so I'll get into that.
But anyways, that's it. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, Heather reached out. Hold on, I have to throw this. Actually, can I pee?
Yes.
I can't focus on anything other
Yes.
than the
No,
fact I
you're
have to
fine.
pee.
Once you gotta pee, you gotta pee.
And I'm
It's
gonna
all
give
good.
this dog his toy. Heather reaches out and sends me this message, and also, like, if it's okay with Heather, I want to kind of like tell them that this is not the first time that we've had a similar conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have a similar conversation at one point. We regrouped, and we talked it out, and we worked as a team again. And one of the things that Heather had brought up was that maybe we would just do an episode every other week. The cost of that per episode would be not
More, would it make sense?
yeah, it just wouldn't make as much sense for both of us to be putting in that cost when we haven't monetized the show yet. And
Yeah. It's a hobby right now, in the sense that it's at our our expense, basically.
Right. And in hopes that, at one point we can be some sort of a creator in some way, because I really like the idea of being creative in multiple different media styles, and do things with my hands, and sometimes do things with my mouth, like speaking.
Yes, let's clarify that very quickly. We know, Jaron, we know.
Sorry, Dan.
We know, Jaron.
Oh, I don't know how that happened, because that was not
You didn't even get really loud.
I didn't.
And all I did was whisper. It's like, we know, Jaron, we know.
So then there was an idea where, like, we did 2-part episodes, and looking at the analytics, and it's okay if you guys didn't like that. We understand. That was like really hard to like set all of that up with like the way that we were already trying to like form an episode and how we wanted that flow to go. And if we were to do something where like Heather was only present, because what I wanted to do is be able to produce an episode every week. And if we were doing something where Heather was present every other episode, then it was like, then like the whole logo would have to change, because then why are you here every other week? And then, like, what am I doing? Am I doing something by myself? Am I doing something with somebody else? And, that was an option to, like, for me to, like, interview somebody if Heather didn't want to or couldn't be a part of that episode. But, like, we still haven't even gotten to that point yet. And when she brought up the fact that, like, she does still have this want to bring a child of her own into this world, and I was just like, honestly, like, so it's not bringing that kind of money in where that's okay for you to do that. And that's not fair of you it's not fair of me to expect Heather to be able to do that because, and I think that at one point I did say, like, I think we had slightly different expectations of like what we wanted it to be, because I did deliver it to Heather as like a hobby and with the ability for us to like make money down the road. And because I know how to operate and brand a business, I was looking at it as a business and trying to operate it like that so that we can start bringing in money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, with the timing of her life, that's not going to be okay. That's not going to be a safe bet for her right now.
We have our own creative aspects to stand on, and I think you definitely do, even on your own as well as with another person. That's not me, and I believe in that, and I believe in the success. It's just that, unfortunately, like you said, where I'm at in my life, I wish I didn't need to be in the type of career that I'm in to also like maintain a decent living lifestyle. And I will be very clear, I would have no problem in making some monetary sacrifices as well as, downsizing my own home, like all of those types of living situations. I would have no problem in reducing that. But even reducing that sum still would require me to basically, like, it wouldn't matter. And like, especially nowadays with like housing, and I bought my house like a few years ago, like I can't even afford, and to downsize, it would cost the same amount that I bought my house 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even matter. I would literally just be like, I magically just own less for the same amount of money. I mean, that's literally like what is happening to everyone right now. But like that's the concept. Like,
right.
It's, yeah, but it sucks in some ways. But I also just want to be clear that I still really support you, and I support this podcast, and I really think that it has somewhere to go.
Thank you. I do too. Yeah. I have a whole room dedicated to it.
I think it's fun. I've really enjoyed coming here and chilling, and like I love the chairs and like the mood in this room.
Sell it, Heather. So this is folks, this is the thing. Okay. So we're calling it a season finale because we are taking an unexpected, I don't know how long of a break it is going to be. And like I said in the little 4-minute thing last week, like I am a former people pleaser, and part of me is like, oh my gosh, like I as a business person, consistency is key. And the one thing about the show, as we have been like growing it so far, is that there has not been a significant amount of consistency, and I understand that. And I in my head, I have an idea of what of a kind of person that I would want to have sitting next to me. So if you are neurodivergent in any sort of way, if you want to be a creator, or if you are fancy with technology and you love being on social media, this is a casting call. Because we have so many people in Fort Wayne. I have a couple people in mind that I am interested in like reaching out specifically, and I have had one person that has shown interest in taking Heather's blue chair. If you are interested, please email me at typicallydivergentpod@gmail.com. If you are long distance, I think we could probably make something work. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So I really hate to like ask, but like I do need to like ask, listener, please do me a solid. Do me, Jaron Michael Williams, future Michael Reisinger, please do me a solid and click that follow button and click the link tree in the description of this episode or wherever it is, and like follow me on everything that you can find our show on. Also, because there are a lot of people, back to the TikTok thing, so many people are pissed off with Facebook that like we're writing bad reviews and stuff. Until I can migrate people over to a new page, I am now going to start using Lemon 8. That's the word lemon and the number 8. It is not the other app that is below when you search, because I saw that one and I had to make sure that was not what I was looking for, but it is TikTok's version of Instagram. It's not owned by Meta.
Hell fucking yeah. Count me in.
Yep.
I'm going to follow you.
You be my first follow? Fuck yeah. Toe taps. Oh, you got to be comfortable with toe taps.
Oh, yes. Must be comfortable with toe taps.
Must be comfortable with toe taps. What are some
Honestly, I love it because I'm just going to be real here, y'all. Part of like, I don't know if it's just like I was born with it, but I totally get sweaty hands very easily. So I'm here for the toe taps instead.
Well, I was born with stinky feet.
Same.
Toe tap.
Toe tap. We can share in stinky feet. Toe tap.
Oh my God. If I had my sock off, which I would never touch your foot with my sock off, but like those pictures of the people were like couples that are really weird and they take their toes and like they're holding hands.
That'd be the season finale picture. Yeah. For the podcast, y'all. Oh my God. We'd get a whole new kind of follower.
Yeah, Nicholas and I were talking about that the other day. So
the special kind of kink.
Spicy.
I mean, honestly, when I was in between jobs, not gonna lie, I thought about it. Starting an OnlyFans for feet pics. I'm just being real. It just is so appealing. There's a need, you know? Like I'm here to fill that need.
I'm here to fill that need.
I'm here to fill the need. Sorry.
Fill me up. I was trying to come up with a song that would say that.
There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with even more than that. It's just that like I'm not into showing myself in that way online, but I'm here for the feet and the legs. So it's fine. I'll do that for money.
Here's the thing. So like I just think because I know that there are normal looking people that don't fit the European American societal standard of like beauty that are attracted to people that look just like them, because I myself am one of them. Mm-hmm. And if I could, Nicholas, we've got some ideas, honey, and I just like I want to get it going. I'm like, come on, I want to work from home. I want to fucking work from home.
Work from the bedroom?
Yeah, from all these fucking rooms.
All these fucking
rooms. You
can advertise the podcasting room.
I want to make this house exactly what we want it to be.
Yeah.
And be like, it was all a business expense because we work in this house.
That's a great tax write-off.
Tell me how the Republicans do it.
Yeah. I mean, Trump doesn't pay taxes. Why should anyone else?
Right.
I'm just saying.
So, okay, so back to the season finale thing.
Yes. And less about feet.
Less about feet. Back to the season finale thing. I will be solely in charge of the social media stuff for a little while, and I will continue to like put things out, keep you guys up to date. I honestly like I'm really like I have it in my head like this will only last like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So folks, expect this finale break to last a month at the most. And I don't want to really put that pressure on myself, but that's just the kind of drive I have. Mm-hmm. So, and then, we'll see, we'll figure it out, but it's all right. We're going to keep the name, and being neurodivergent doesn't necessarily have to be a requirement. However, like there has to be some sort of like really great all around banter. Mm-hmm. The witch stuff was really something that Heather brought to the show. So, there's not going to be as much of that. So, Heather, I really appreciate you for, if anything, like coming on this season 1 of this journey of the show, being on the starting grounds of getting it up. And I really appreciate the hard work that you have put into the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
I really enjoy being on the show.
It has been a journey.
Overall, I'm just trying not to cry, so that's why I keep looking away.
Overall, it has been a really nice time. It has been tough at times for you individually, for me individually, for us as a team. And then we've had some like really, really nice highs. I don't know. Have you seen Poker Face on Peacock yet?
Mm-mm.
Well, one of the episodes, there's like this group, and they wrote us. There's this song. It's a long story, but she was like, once we created that, like I got this like high, and I've been chasing after that high ever since, looking for that hit of her music. And Heather and I had that on the very first day that we recorded, and we've had that a couple times, and I've been chasing that because it is a wonderful
Oh, it's such an
feeling.
awesome feeling. Yeah, when you have like a really awesome episode and you just like feel it. And then also when you see, that a lot of people are listening and maybe even sending in some things about it, like it's so rewarding because it's really about like sharing with other people, and you get the sense that like you almost picture that your audience and the people are just here sitting with you, right? And that's what we
Yes.
want the podcast, we always wanted the podcast to have that feel to begin with. So like that's how you know that it's a really good episode, because you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like as if our audience is sitting here right here with us, like
Right.
having this discussion. You
Yeah.
kind of envision that, and that's like it's really nice and
Oh,
it's really
God,
wonderful.
It's so good.
I love it. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Hopefully by so when we say season finale, I'm not doing seasons when we come back. We're doing episodes every week. It's okay. I can rebrand. It's no big deal. There was an opportunity for me to give up and just throw it all away, but I'm a bit more resilient than that.
Yeah, I think you are.
And I'm not going to let that get me down. It's just what I don't want to do is be a solo podcaster. But it's going to be okay. And
Yeah.
everything's going to be fine. Heather will always have the first, I don't know, how many episodes do we have? I almost forgot the name of our podcast.
Oh my goodness.
I almost started typing in Heather.
You typical divergent you.
I know.
Also, I do want to say that Jaron and I have already talked about it, and if we don't ever do this, that is also okay. I will never put the pressure on him to do this, especially since I am the one that is choosing to walk away. But I have already said that, if there are certain episodes here and there that, he and his new partner in the podcast would like to, bring me on as a guest, on certain episodes, I have no problem in that. And I would love to say hi to people now and then. So yeah. And if that doesn't work out, that's okay too. Jaron and I are friends before we really did this podcast, and our friendship has, I think, grown a lot even in the podcast while we were doing the podcast. And so
oh my God, I mean, you're the friendship and the where we are at as two people in each other's lives. I don't think we would have ever gotten to this point where we have been this honest with each other about the things that bother us.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And just all the stuff that we get really deep on. We would have gotten there, it just would have taken longer.
Yes, and I feel like because you and I have had a couple tough conversations that people probably stray away from having with their friends.
True. You don't have to have tough discussions about business or as if you're at or when you're in group projects in school, right? And you hate having having to be hey,
that's
so
exactly what this has been like with you, because you're like my big sister. Because
oh my God,
we established that we have this brother and sister type relationship, and that you look at me as a younger brother and I look at you as an older sister, which is fine. However, we are both the oldest siblings, and I do not like the idea of when right now you're sitting in that chair and I'm like, that's my big sister right there, and I'm like, she is such a bitch sometimes. and I fucking love you. And
I fucking love you too.
And it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay, we are gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing something.
What?
So when we were talking about
You were looking something up on your
Po-
phone too. Oh, how many episodes? How many? What?
well, so the show has 24. This will be
Oh.
episode 25.
Oh my goodness! A quarter of a century of.
A quarter. You haven't been in every one of them.
True.
And
Okay.
so you were a part of the first quarter century season. That's what
Yes.
we'll call it.
The
The
quarter
quarter century. Before
the quarter
we hit
era.
the quarter
The era.
the quarter era.
The Jaron Heather era.
Well, so I was gonna call it. I was gonna be like
The
put on
Jether
I
era.
was gonna be like anything that's labeled as season 1 is the Jether Witchy era between the original 2 hosts of the show. Anything after that is not the quarter era.
Right. I just needed an era because it's Taylor Swift. It's Taylor Swift approved if it has the word era after it.
Of course. Of course it does.
Yes, loving of Taylor Swift is also a plus if you are interested.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, that is a pretty good idea. That you don't have to like Taylor Swift, but it would be really easy if you did. It'd be really
It'd be
cool
so much
if you did.
easier.
Yes. Oh, also, please, are you uncomfortable in front of a camera? Because like I want to shoot this show to the moon. So speaking of moon, oh my god, I have to pee again. I'm so
Oh my
sorry.
goodness, what is up with your bladder? I'm just kidding.
Did you also see that one politician who was like, "But why is it that every time when I get on TikTok, I see a bunch of nothing but shirtless gays dancing and
no, he says queers, fluffers, and drag queens. And
Yes.
I literally, I'll admit, like my poor little naive self, but I had to look up what a fluffer was. And I was like, yo. And because I kept seeing the comments on that, one of the videos about that, where it was like, he knows he is literally able to say he mentions the word fluffer. Therefore,
he knows what it is.
He knows what it is. And he's getting those that, like, we all know, anyone who uses TikTok or like even knows a little bit about it, your FYP, like your For You page that feeds you things, learns about your wants and what you want to see. And it's like, oh my God, this is such a classic thing that people say, that it's like, what these people talk about is such an admission of their own things.
Right.
But I had to look up what a fluffer was, and I'm like, yo, if I had to look it up and that dude knows, whoo.
Well,
somebody should be looking at his cell phone because he's probably into some weird stuff, and he might need to take a look at, I don't know.
Well, and then
because he said kids dancing too. That freaked me out. That was the first thing he said, right?
Yep.
That's why I was saying that, because I'm like, he might have things about kids on his phone.
Right. Well, and then there was the other one where like another politician got caught like giving hearts and fire and like weights or something for some other people that were live, and he was like, "Well, I like to help out whenever I can." He's like,
"Oh, and it was a young gay guy or something, right?" But he's like voting about anti-trans. Yes.
God, you guys, the world is so twisted. Twisted. Don't get it twisted, don't get clever. This is the most craziest shit ever. Boom, boom, boom. If anybody knows Gwen Stefani, boom, boom, boom. So now that we have everybody basically caught up to everything that's been going on, I am so sorry. I hope this episode's been fun. We had to get all of that out of the way.
Yes.
But we are going to part each other with one final tarot reading.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, because you were saying, speaking of the moon.
Yes. Instead of drawing cards for ourselves or for the show, I told Heather, I'm going to draw you a card and you draw me a card. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to read you the whole description because this will be the last one that you get for the show. You got the Cosmic Heart. Your keywords are devotion, potency, and making your life a moving prayer. When you surrender to a state of devotion, you find yourself flowing with all of life. You're being called to refocus your attention deep within, to the intelligence of your own heart, to bow with deep reverence to your inner temple, to live your life in devotion to this place, to make your life one big moving prayer. Perhaps you've been feeling a little off-kiltered lately, sensing that the potency of why you're doing things has gotten a little watered down or weak. Perhaps you've forgotten what made you start doing them in the first place. If
Mm-hmm.
so, this is your call to take a moment and reconnect with the truth at the very center of your heart, to get back to the essence of what you're about, to devote your life to what you care most about, to turn your gaze deep, 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 deep. There are seasons for harvesting and seasons for sowing. Right now, you're being called to plant your soul's seed and to sing them with deep devotion, to feed them with your sweet waters of your own soul, to lose yourself in the potency of what it is that most expands your heart, to live your life according to what makes you come alive, rather than what everyone else thinks, to make your life one big moving prayer.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome.
I thought that was very meaningful. I felt very honestly connected to that. It definitely felt relatable. Maybe not like the prayer on the literal sense in the way that I think of it, but like prayer in the sense of more of like, in just like a magical or like spiritual sense.
Good.
So I pulled for you the Ace of Wands upright.
Okay.
So, keywords for the Ace of Wands is inspiration, new opportunities, growth, and potential. In the Ace of Wands, a hand holding a sprout wand extends out from a cloud as if to offer a new opportunity or idea with the potential to grow. The rich, verdant landscape is further confirmation of this growth capability. In the distance on the left sits a castle representing the promise of opportunities to come, and hills and mountains line the horizon. The rolling peaks remind us that there will always be challenges along the way, but they are surmountable with enough effort. One second, just getting to the next part.
No worries.
As an ace, this wand card brings you pure potential. This time in the spiritual, energetic realm, ideas are flowing to you, motivating and inspiring you to pursue a new path. You are open to receiving new opportunities that align with your higher self. A whole world of possibility is available to you. The Ace of Wands encourages you to follow your heart and live your passion. If you feel a strong pull towards a new project or path, but are questioning whether it will work, then this card gives you a gentle nudge to pursue your passion. You can always start out small, treating the project or idea as an experiment or trial. Then, if it feels good, keep doing it. If it doesn't, make adjustments and try again. Let your energy, dedication, and motivation be your guides. If you have been looking for a sign about whether this is the right project, then the Ace of Wands is a clear yes. The sprouting wand and the fertile landscape in the background are all positive indications that this idea has the potential to turn into something fulfilling and energizing. Use your creative energy and passion to take the first steps. Even if you prefer to plan out everything before you begin down a particular path, the Ace of Wands wants you to listen to your instincts and follow your gut. If it seems like a good idea, it probably is. So start with a few fundamentals to get things rolling, and then continue to grow and develop your ideas through more complex activities later on. The important thing is that you act now rather than spending more time planning or researching. Keep in mind, however, that the aces represent potential but not guaranteed results. The Ace of Wands, or any ace, is a seed that has yet to grow into something more substantial and sustainable. The opportunity on offer shows great promise, but it will be up to you to maximize it for the long term. See this card as a spark needed to fuel a massive fire, but remember that the flash itself is not enough to keep the flames burning. The Ace of Wands, sorry, this is a long one.
It's okay.
Almost done.
I'm just like, wow.
Take it all in.
Well, taking it all in, and I'm like, wow, okay, so you're saying that like, hey, like, here's a fucking seed, but like, it's your fucking responsibility if you want this fucker
You gotta
to
plant
grow
it.
up. Yeah.
Plant it and water it.
I gotta plant it, water it, seed it.
The Ace of Wands may appear when you have an opportunity to grow on a personal or spiritual level. You may be interested in taking a class or investing in a course so you can follow your creative spirit. For example, you might enroll in a photography class, a tarot course, or a self-improvement program. Trust that this experience will open you up to even more possibilities, or, you know, like new opportunities with your podcast and other things in your life. And I seriously picked this at random. Like, I promise I did not do that as like a, hey, you're going and here's all these new opportunities. Like, That's literally what I picked.
She goes, I'm gonna go look for the best card.
Yeah.
What if it was like
for as I leave out the door? No, I swear to you, that is
Well,
what came.
That's great because if you had been like, I pulled the Satan card, I'd be like, well, okay.
Jared's like, well, I'm taking that seriously too.
Well, because I am healing.
I know.
No. I would
Sure.
like to share. I because I have been healing. Those things are not as spooky and scary anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't go down as many of those rabbit holes. Also, during therapy, in my last session, she was like, okay, so it sounds like you might be using your well, I told her of a situation that happened and she goes, okay, well, that sounds great. I'm glad that you used your tool, but let's also make sure that we're not like using the tools to like not feel our feelings too. And I was like,
no. You're like, but you still have to process your feelings, Jared.
Yeah. And I was like, but I got through the panic attack. And she goes, yeah, but did you go back? And I was like, oh no. She goes, like, yeah,
Well,
like,
that's the next step. I mean, you still started somewhere, right? And
know.
like, it's just more ways to do things, right? It's like we're always growing.
I know. I'm a little apple tree. Actually, my body's in the shape of a pear, so I'm a pear tree.
Yeah. I really appreciated that, what yours was for me too. Man, both were so good again. Our tarot cards are always on point for this fucking podcast, I'll tell you that.
I know, our first ones were too.
Yeah. It feels fitting. I love you.
I love you too. I don't know why I'm not crying.
I don't know either, because every time I look at you, I'm like, I'm not going to cry. And I'm like, I'm almost going to cry. Honestly, I cried at work today because this job is so frustrating.
I know.
So I probably am just out of tears.
It's okay. It's okay to be out of tears. It's okay that you cried all day today. It's probably for the best. I think I have to speak my truth. I am slightly relieved that it didn't work out.
Okay.
Slightly relieved.
Do you want to go deeper on that or no? I'm curious. Like, what do you mean? And it's okay if you don't want to. That's okay. And you don't have to do it on the podcast.
Because the first time that we had that conversation and you said, I feel like I'm holding you back. Mm-hmm. And I really thought to myself, I said, yes, you are. But that's not fair of me to expect that of you. To want to do the things that I want to do.
Right. When you still also wanted me to be a part of it at the same time. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a lot
makes sense.
There's a lot of stress being taken off of my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we are both very empathetic people, so we can I think we can feel how each other are feeling, and I literally knew back then that it was I felt that way because I just had this sense that you could also be eventually gaining in resentment, right? Mm-hmm. If things continue down that pathway, and there's also there's just that concept that sometimes people can be really close and be really good at friendships and everything else, but people are still individuals that have their own things that they are pursuing, or their own lives that they have to still maintain. And depending on how those are working, something like this might still not work, even though you can also be wonderful friends in other ways outside this situation.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I get to still keep a friend.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel like I need to get somebody's thumbs up for a decision that I want to make with the show. Mm-hmm. That feels pretty cool to be in that much control again. Mm-hmm. Here I go. Well, hey,
got this.
My name's Jaron Michael Williams, soon to be Jaron Michael Reisinger. Today is the 30th, 3/30/23. Tomorrow is Nicholas's birthday. He'll be turning 33 years old. And this is Heather's last episode on the podcast for now. For now. She may come back. Maybe if you do get pregnant, we'll bring you on. You can talk about how much you hate being pregnant, or how much you enjoy
hey,
it.
You did this to yourself.
Yep.
I'll be like,
And on like episode 5, I said, "Hey, if you ever get pregnant, don't make me one of the first people that you tell, because I genuinely have a hard time getting excited for people who want to bring kids into the world."
Yeah.
And I said that jokingly because I was like, this thing's gonna be a thing where she doesn't want kids. Well, she still wants kids. So
it's been tough though. We haven't reached 100% final decision, but it's
still a considered thing in your mind. I understand.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I think I'm gonna cut all that out.
That's okay.
So yeah, my name's Jaron. My pronouns are he, him. I am now your current solo host of Typically Divergent Podcast. Click that follow button. Maybe I'll release a little something special. Who knows? I will definitely keep you guys posted. Heather, I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship and your work for everything that we did, and for believing in me.
I love you, and I still believe in you, and I feel honored to have been on this part of the journey with you, and I'm excited to see where the journey goes.
Wonderful. All right, guys. Well, you'll hear from me as soon as I can. So future me, future us. Hey, remember when this happened? It's cute, isn't it? And I love you guys.
Love you guys.
And you'll hear from me soon.
Bye.
See you soon.